Hello, my dear Starknet fam. Welcome back to the Star Cafe, the show where we host the most interesting projects and personalities from the Starknet ecosystem. And today we have a very special guest, Darlington from Horus Labs. So Darlington is the founder. Hey, my friend, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Hope you're good too.
Very nice. It's always a pleasure to have you here. For the frequent listeners of the Star Cafe, you might remember Darlington from last year, as we hosted him at the Star Cafe to talk about token-bound accounts and how they would play a very important role in the Starknet ecosystem. And then with the time passing by, Horus Labs developed also a project which is leveraging the power of token-bound account. And this project is Coloniz, which is a community building platform, community building social platform. And I'm really excited to know more about it. So maybe I think it would be great to start with a brief introduction about yourself and about your team, the Horus Labs team, Darlington.
Yeah, sure. Before I get started, I want to say thank you so much, Nostar, for getting me on Star Cafe. I usually watch your episodes; they are pretty amazing, and you're doing a great job. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, hello everyone. My name is Darlington, and I am currently the co-founder of Horus Labs. So at Horus Labs, we just trying to build stuff, experimenting blockchain related applications. Yeah. So well, sometime last year we started building token bound accounts. It was this new thing that was everywhere on Ethereum, and we thought about how we could actually port that to Starknet. And yeah, I think from there that was how we decided to build something with what we had built in token bound, and that's how we landed at Coloniz. Well, my team at Horus Labs, we are pretty much a very small team, around about 8 to 10%. My co-founder Kelvin and the few others who you probably know, Kate, Stephanie, Oche, I'm giving them a shout out because the amazing Annie, who a lot of others I can mention. Yeah, so I used to previously work at Agent and pretty much very involved in the Starknet ecosystem. I don't chat a lot, but you can always reach out to me, 68 or on X at Darlington. Yeah, I'm excited to be here once again. Thank you, Nostar.
So Darlington, it's a pleasure to have you back at the Star Cafe, and it's always very nice to see you grinding, and also you gave a very important contribution to the whole Starknet Africa community and to the whole Starknet community. So I was amazed at the efforts that you're putting on together with the whole Horus Labs team on Coloniz. So really excited to know more about this platform and about the problems and the challenges that you want to solve with it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for the question, Nostar. All right. So I think I would like to start with citing the fact that it's actually pronounced colonies, but it seems like a lot of persons keep calling it colonize. So I'm wondering maybe we could just add an E to the ending and probably just leave it at colonize. Yeah. But we actually it's called colonies essentially. It's just it has gotten from because the community on colonies is called the colony. So a cluster of communities of a lot of colony, right? Is colonies. So we removed the IS and we made it IZ. So colonies. Yeah. Yeah,
I apologize.
Sure. Well, feel free to call it what you want to call. Yeah, so the idea for colonies, right, is when people ask me what the vision was like, right, it's really funny because when we started building colonies, it's not like where we currently are. It's not what we actually envisioning. So when we started, it was called Cast, right, and the idea was to replicate like a social network, like Lens Protocol or Farcaster on Starknet. So it was just a fun project, right? So really like so much thinking about how do you scale, how do you go to market, how do you this is just a few presents here and there, building stuff. And as we went on, right, because initially we were actually it's an open source project, so we had contributors contributing from all over, through Only Those, shout out to Only Those, a very amazing open source platform. And so we had open source contributors contributing to these things. So as we started get going further in the project, there was a need to have an in-house team to probably help work on the idea. So we had to get a few persons on board. And how it goes to say paying salaries and paying salaries from our pockets and all those things. So it became like it was like, if we're going to spend so much money on this, right, it makes sense that we actually have a way to make revenue from this, right? And so we have to go back to the drawing board and rethink what we're building. We're building a social platform for Starknet, and that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because a social platform is supposed to be open. So social platforms are usually like the sources of it is dictated by the amount of daily average users, monthly average users, and all those things you get, right? So it just makes sense that it's open, not restricted to just a small subset of persons. So it might be built on Starknet, but at the same time, you want to ensure that not just Starknet users are using it, right? And so now we think thought about it, right? So the idea essentially was, this was an open platform. People could, port their profile, port everything from one place to another, just similar to like I said, what Lens and Fakasta is doing. But then at the same time, it's not like, okay, are we really solving a problem here, or are we creating a new one? Because you think about it, right? Lens and Fakasta, they are building like the siloed ecosystems, and if we now keep having more siloed ecosystems, it kind of feels like we're now replicating the same problem that we wanted to solve with Web2 applications, right? So yeah, within the siloed ecosystems, obviously you can probably port your profiles, build multiple applications. But if we now have 6 or 7 or 8 of each of them, it becomes a problem, similar to what we already have with Web2 platforms. Yeah, so it just did not make sense anymore to pursue this both from like I said, a business revenue point of view to a philosophical logical point of view, right? So we had to either pivot to something else or just kill the dream. And so we're like, okay, let's just try pivoting to something else so we can actually use, because at that point we dedicated months of building to it, right? So maybe we can just see this trip or maybe experiment with a new idea. And that's how we just came up with coloniz. So how about, instead of building a social platform, we just build these platforms, right, where people can actually build better communities, because they can look at the community space, the existing community space, right? There's a whole lot of things that are wrong with it. You come into Web3 where it's even worse, and the concept of community in Web3, I feel is broken, right? People talk communities, but literally everybody's just looking for where they can actually make quick bucks and just live, right? And so it's just a whole lot of things that are just broken about the community model currently operating in the Web3 ecosystem. Maybe we can actually solve for this, maybe build a solution to this, and that's how we just started building coloniz. So essentially, just like I said, it's a platform where Web3 communities can come build better communities that can scale, and of course it's built on the blockchain, so we offer a lot of features I'm probably going to go into that you'll probably not get anywhere else, like Discord and Telegram and the rest. Yeah, so that's just, I don't know if I'll call that brief, but that's an overview of what we're doing with coloniz.
Yeah, there was a very good explanation of of the vision behind coloniz, and I also saw that you're taking this approach of wanting to abstract difficulties from the concept, in the sense that I also saw one of the first things that I noticed is that you integrated the cartridge controller, so that also people who have no experience with Web3 whatsoever can have a seamless onboarding. And yeah, so you can abstract the first obstacles. And then also, it was very interesting what you were saying, that the communities are a bit broken in Web3, and I think we need to find ways to structure community like DAOs, right? And where people have incentives to collaborate with each other in a very constructive way, and in a very also in a meritocratic way, right? And transparent one as well, so that people can point out if there are favoritisms or things that are not fair and stuff like that. And at the same time, having the possibility to get some money out of your own content or out of your own work. And I've been starting to see a lot of potential around coloniz. And as you said, you don't want to replicate exactly what platforms like Farcaster and Lens are doing, but because I also think that you're also taking a Discord approach. So I see different styles, like the usual social media approach, together with a more narrow community sited approach like Discord, and you're blending all these kind of approaches together in order to give more power to communities. I don't know if you like this kind of idea concept.
I think that does make sense. It's kind of defines what coloniz.
And then maybe you can also find ways to gamify the whole experience. I already see some hints at that. Also, maybe if you would like to show us around coloniz, we can comment some features.
All right. So I believe my screen is visible, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so like you said, right? One of the things we actually doing, like looking to do with colonies, which is one of like our key, should I say, driving force, right? Is building something that anybody can use. So whilst like our current target audience, right, Web3 communities, that's communities in Web3. At the same time, colonies is built such that like literally anybody can use it. So I know that in Web3 we actually used to like very complicated applications, and things are really getting better, particularly with like account abstraction on Starknet. I mean, you could see like what like Focus Tree did. I'm a very big fan of Focus Tree. Like the app is amazing, and it uses Web3, but you literally cannot, you wouldn't even know, right? So thanks to account abstraction, P masters, and the rest, everything is just like abstracted behind the scene, right? And students can literally just use it to do what they want to do, and that's what we're trying to do with colonies, right? So we believe that when we're building applications, we need to go beyond the idea of I am building for Web3, right? To I'm just building an application. So it should not be a Web3 application. It should be an application. People should be able to use it without having to bother about like what's happening behind the scene. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to go with cartridge. So when we started, we're looking for what I call it, right? To use a web wallet, an embedded web wallet. And the idea is that it just solves the friction problem. So essentially, users can basically just log in without having to bother about installing this or installing that. And yeah, that's the reason why we had to go with cartridge. Plus, like they did a whole lot of work with abstracting P masters, session keys, and most of all those. So yeah, shout out to like the cartridge team also, like for like the amazing work they've been doing, particularly with the social login feature they shipped last week. Yeah, so that's it. So like I said, thanks to cartridge, the login process or sign up process is very straightforward. So you can just go on. Probably I didn't really have to go through the sign up process, so I don't waste a lot of time. But it's also very straightforward. You can either use passkeys, social login, and so on and so forth. Now, when you get on board on colonies, right, you basically have like a list of all communities. You can basically filter by the colonies you belong to, colonies that are under education, business, and so on and so forth. So on and so forth, right? So right now, it's not like, I wouldn't call it a totally decentralized application. So we're taking like an approach to find the balance. So when we started initially, like I said, when we were building like Cast, so the idea was to build something that was totally on chain, right? And it did make sense at that point, but as we went forward, it just made sense that we had to find the balance between like, the proper user experience, or the user experience we're looking to replicate, right? And decentralization, it means we had to like find a middle ground, right? So we had to like take a few things off chain, and or communities are still on chain, profiles are still on chain, and I'm going to like explain how these things work, right? So essentially, like I said, you get on board on the explore page, you can like find all the existing colonies, or just like go through like the colonies community, right? So if you're part of the community, you can just go straight up. So a structure of like communities are like very simple. So let me see but I think I'm already part of like every community. So I wanted to like show what the preview page looks like, but I think I should be able to show that. Give me a minute. So yeah, this is what like the community preview page looks like right now. So you can add like links to like your community socials. You just have like a cover photo, the display picture. You can add a video, like something like users can watch, basically like to understand your community. So that is just like better light to actually present your community, right? So you go in and you can have there are a whole lot of things happening within the community. So first off is like the home feed, right? So the home feed is basically like, we like think of it as an open town square. So it replicates the Twitter, Reddit like structure, where you can just make a post, someone can like and comment. They can do a whole lot of things, right? They can follow you. They can they can block you and all those things, right? They can also tip you, send you a tip. So like you probably did something amazing. I liked the idea of it. I can just probably like come here, and I don't have enough money here, and just try to tip you, right? And just continue. And it's very simple. And send the tip. And as you can see, everything like we actually make everything look like it's instant, right? But of course, it takes a while. But Starknet is pretty fast, right? But at the same time, like I said, it's an experience. We're trying to replicate the website experience, so we don't want to have to explain to you why this is taking time to load. So that is like to make things as fast as possible. So yeah, you can comment. We also have the concept of subcolonies, right? So think of subcolonies as basically like similar to what already happens on platforms like Discord, right? Where you can actually like group things. For example, Starknet Africa is currently using colonies for like their Cairo Bootcamp 4, and essentially you have like the Cairo Bootcamp 4 subcolony where you can find all information as regards upcoming sessions and all. You can find like things in the in the general chat where people are having conversations. So the chat is essentially like a Telegram. It has the Telegram direct message structure, so it's a real life chat. There are a whole lot of amazing things you can actually like explore with colonies. So we don't have like this concept of Grida. So Grida is essentially like an AI agent. So it's embedded within the communities to like assist with different things. So you as the community owner can basically like train it using like community related documentations. So it basically like helps you like get around those things, around asking like having to answer repetitive questions, right? So you can train Grida on things you want it to know, and the users can basically like targeting channels. So you can train it using like texts, using documents, using links. You can crawl your website, get to understand how your community functions and all those things, right? And basically, you can see someone here, for example, tagged Grida, and he replies with like the bootcamp curriculum and all those things, because these are information that have been pre-taught Grida, right? So you also have the leaderboard where you can actually track the most people who are contributing to your colony, your community. You can decide to reward them and all those things. So there are also a lot of other amazing things we currently do, right? Which you probably not see any of this moderation by AI. So Grida currently helps you with moderating your community. So you can basically specify community guidelines, and based on that community guidelines, it's able to decide what is spam, what is not spam. Can ban nude images, whatever you want, right? So essentially, it just helps you to it simplifies the life of the community manager or the community moderator in this case. Then you also have the concept of profiles. So profiles are essentially like you said, they're token-bound accounts, and we're probably going to go into the reason why we had to use token-bound accounts, right? But essentially with profiles, you can actually follow someone, you can unfollow them, you can view your posts, your account information, the colonies you belong to, and all those things, right? So because it's token-bound account, it means basically you can actually send money out of it, send money into it. So it's very simple. You just probably put in the recipient and the amount, and you can just easily send money to that person. So we're also looking to implement on-ramp, off-ramp solutions, because like I said, it has to simplify to ensure there are no hitches in the UX experience, right? And right now, I think the biggest challenge people face is having to send money. So right now, we can just copy your wallet address and go to maybe an Argent or Bravo's wallet and send money to your profile. We're also looking to implement an off-ramp, on-ramp solution, so you can do that with your credit card too. So I think that's pretty much a rundown of some of the important things we currently have. So there are a whole lot also that also I feel to point out, for example in channels and the rest. But essentially we're just trying to build for what the point we're getting to, like I said, it's to build the ultimate tool for people to build better Web3 communities. But at the same time, it's a social platform, which means that there are a lot of one of the challenges basically with building a social platform, right, is the fact that there are already existing models. So people already have they have expectations, right? So for example, I don't want to be able to get on colonies. Maybe I can't do basic things sending messages, the things I can already do on Discord, things I can already do on Telegram and the rest, right? So what we're currently, the first phase of our plan, which is currently where we are, is replicating, trying to meet up with existing standards, right? And from there, we basically bring in some new features, which we're also going to talk about later on. Yeah, so that's just a brief walkthrough of colonies from where we are right now. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, I really like the platform, how you are structuring it. I can see a lot of passion that you're putting into it. So congrats for that. And yeah, I have a question actually. So you were mentioning that obviously you integrated token-bound accounts, especially, for example, in the profile. But at the same time, I was wondering, seeing that you connect to the platform using your cartridge account. And for example, in my case, I signed up with an existing cartridge account that, for example, I use for OnChain gaming, which I've already got some funds, NFTs, and so on. On the other hand, for example, the profile is a token-bound account. My question is, if I'm which account which wallet will get the money I will send? I mean, what kind of wallet am I using? The profile or the cartridge one?
So I think that's a very important question. So which brings us to the reason why we're using token-bound accounts, right? So the way token-bound accounts work essentially, right, is they empower NFTs to act as accounts. So NFTs can be independent entities, separate from the wallets that they belong to. So the reason why you have to get on board with cartridge, right, is that cartridge is you need a wallet to hold an NFT that gets deployed as a token-bound account. Now, one of the reasons why we are actually keen on using token-bound accounts, right, it's the ease of portability. So with what we currently have implemented, your colonist profile is not tied to your wallet. It's just an NFT, right, that is inside your wallet. So essentially, tomorrow I decide to change my primary wallet. I don't want to use cartridge anymore. I want to maybe use Argent or something. I can easily transfer that NFT from cartridge to Argent, and every single thing on colonies, right, ports to that Argent wallet. So that's compartmentalization, that's ease of managing your account is one of the reasons why we love token-bound accounts. There's also the whole thing around managing all the NFTs you accrue within the app. So it's essentially a social app, and essentially a lot of things we do. We mint NFTs when you join communities, right? We mint NFTs when you join channels and so on and so forth. So most of all these NFTs you accrue within the app, we don't want it to go to your primary wallet and just be everywhere. It becomes difficult to manage. So everything is stored within the token-bound account. So once you create the profile on colonies, all you need your external wallet, cartridge, agent, or whatever it is, right? In this case, to do is just to create your token bound account. And that's what you use to log in, right? But once your token bound account is created, every single thing you do within the app is like regulated by your token bound account. So all these assets that are being held are held within your token bound account. All the NFTs that are going to be minted to you are going to be held within your token bound account, and so on and so forth. So yeah, to answer your question, the TLDR is that when you send an asset, you're sending it to your token bound account, not your main cartridge wallet. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. And yeah, so I don't know if you wanted to add something about other features of the platform. Maybe I would add another question. If you could kindly go back to the Starknet Africa community.
Oh, sure.
I was wondering, like in the structure when you can see sub-colonies, exactly over there. So in this case, the Cairo Bootcamp is a sub-colony of Starknet Africa, right?
Yeah.
And each sub-colony would have different categories. So the announcements, general, lecture tracks, scheduled support. So in general, we would have a sort of like a Telegram group, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So just to compartmentalize and ensure that communities are more arranged, have a better structure. Yeah. All right. Okay, to answer your question as regards some of the features we're currently that are going to be coming in the future. So like I said, it's one of our goals with Coloniz, right, is to help Web3 communities build better communities. So like as I started earlier, I mentioned that I feel like the structure, the concept of communities currently, right, it's in Web3 is like a bit broken, and these are some of the things we're looking to fix. But at the same time, like I said, it's a social app, and so users just want things that work. So I can't be building a social app, for example, and I can't post, I can't chat, I can't do like some of the basic things that already exist in the platforms that are per se supposed to be like your competitors, right? So that's the reason why the first step, like I said, was getting to this point where at least we have some of most of the major features that you can actually find in these other existing platforms. Now, the next step we're actually looking to pursue is the engagement problem. So we've spoken with a lot of communities in the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, in the whole market research phase and all those things, right? And one of the things a lot of community owners keep citing as the problem, right, is engagement, right? So how do you hack engagement? So that's one of the trickiest thing around building a new social platform. So it's more or less people are already used to something. They already used to Discord, they already used to Telegram. So how do you get them to port to something else? So community owners are like, oh yeah, if you can solve the engagement problem for me, why not? I would like support. But at the same time, engagement is not it's not, how do I put it? It's not like a problem where you can just wave a magical wand, right, and you just fix it. So it's communities, building engaging communities is something that takes time, it takes incentives, it takes hard work, right? So it's something you build over the concept of time. So what we're just trying to do with Coloniz, right, is we want to give you the tools that enables you, that makes it easier for you, right, to do these things. So it's not like it's a magical problem that's going to solve the engagement problem, but it's going to do better, giving you the tools that empowers you, right, to tackle these problems. Yeah, so that's why some of the things we're looking to introduce in the coming months or the coming weeks are very much focused on engagement. So the first is around what we like to call the point system / reputation system. So humans we are egoistical in nature, and people just want to feel special. They want to feel recognized, and so that's another thing I've noticed in communities, right? So communities who do better usually always better in recognizing and giving, how do I put it, right? Giving special recognition to people who are members of their communities. And that's the reason why we feel like the reputation the point system is an amazing thing to do. So with the point system, essentially the actions you carry out within the app, you end points for them, for chats, for posts, for helpful things. The more votes you get, the more engaging your content looks like. Maybe the more tips you send, all those things basically. So it incentivizes you essentially, to engage within the community. And now the question, of course, it's just points. So what am I going to do? And that's why with the point system, we're introducing something we like to call the community pods. So it's an experimental idea, which is basically a lot of things are currently doing right now is experimental. Like I said, the engagement problem is not something that's easy to do, right? But I'm very much interested in doing it. I'm very much interested in solving it because everybody thinks this is not doable. And I was talking to a lot of persons and they're like, I just did this idea, the new social platform can't catch on or can't kick off. And that's the reason why I'm very much passionate about making it work. So with the community pods, right, I think I strode away a bit. So with the community pods, you have you have a means to actually liquidate users' points. Now this is different for different communities. So they are different with the coming releases. You're going to have different means for which you can release reward people who acquire points within your communities. So it can be, for example, you can decide, oh yeah, I want to liquidate you by probably converting into tokens. So it could be like stack tokens, USDT, or whatever. So the idea is basically like we can get a snapshot of like the community point at a point where we want to reward users. So think of it as like a mini airdrop that happens within the app essentially. So but it's just the idea is just to reward users. And so you can actually just claim from the pot depending on how many points you're able to accrue within your community. And of course, this poses like some like interesting challenges around how do we like, people are going to farm it. So when money is involved, that humans are always going to try to try to see how they can milk the opportunity to like the best of their their knowledge and their strength. So we also have this feature where you can actually use to punish users who are probably trying to farm or trying to spam or something like that. So essentially you can deduct their points, you can ban them and a whole other things, right? So Greeter can also help you carry out all these actions. So with Greeter, we're trying to ensure that the weight or the load on you as the community manager is as reduced as possible. So that's one thing we're actually looking to experiment with to see how it helps the engagement. The second thing we're also looking to experiment in the short term is something we're going to call the quest system. And the quest system is very much key to what we're doing in colonies. And so the idea of the problem we're trying to solve here, right, is people always complain about what's it called, airdrop hunters, airdrop farmers. These guys they make up the bulk of the Web3 ecosystem. And whilst they probably cause more harm than the opportunities they create, in the sense that they flop to protocol, try to farm opportunities, but when maybe an airdrop is done or something like that, everybody just disperses and the protocol becomes like a ghost town. So except maybe the protocol or the platform or something like that had built-in utilities that keeps bringing users back, right? There's a high chance that it's going to be a ghost town because most of all those new users and all those things you were recording up to the point of an airdrop were just farmers who were trying to farm the opportunities. So the of quest was saying, okay, what if actually, right, you do not necessarily I feel like these guys, in as much as the net negative to the ecosystem, at the same time, they do a whole lot for protocols. So for example, when a new thing launches, right, it's difficult to get existing users. So let's say I'm launching another ZKVM or something like that, right, another layer 2. I think people already have layer 2s there. They're probably using Base or they're using Starknet or they're using Optimism. So it's always very difficult to get existing users to port from the platform layer to something else. You just want to see activity. They want to see that other people are using it, right? And that's what airdrop farmers help you to do. That's what these hunters they help you to do, because they're always interested in porting because they feel like there's something that's an opportunity they might get from there. And so they help you drive up that initial activity. They help you stress test your protocol, stress test your application. They are kind of like the first beta users you currently have. And oftentimes they also help you a lot in marketing and publicity, because you hear them, they are always pushing things on Twitter, on X and the rest. And that helps you, bring in probably real users and all those things. So that's one of the positives they bring to the ecosystem. Now with the quest system, we're looking to see how we can create a structure where these guys are not just short-term users. So instead of the airdrop structure where we currently have, where people just do things up until they get the airdrop and they disappear. What if there are ways you can actually keep these guys to keep engaging? So most communities already build their communities on Discord, and that's just about it. Airdrop happens and that is it. Maybe if some protocols do, for example, Starknet do things like a DeFi Spring and PL and some of all these things that keep people coming back because there are some incentives to get, right? But you could actually do something more. So with the quest system, for example, we have different things. The idea is to give community owners, so in this case can be protocols, right? It can be anything, right? To give you the ability to actually create some sort of pathway that users can actually do, some things, actions users can actually carry out, and probably earn incentives while doing it. So for example, it can be use the applications within my protocol, or for example, add liquidity to a Kubo or whatever it is, right? So these are actions, these are things that will keep users coming back, right? Because they probably have a few incentives to get here and there. But at the same time, these users we can potentially convert to real users, right? So they can go from just farming opportunities they learn to convert into real users, in the sense that they interact with other persons too within the community. So now it's not an external quest platform. Everything happens within the community you've created on Colonies. So they can interact with other persons, they get more emotionally invested within your application. So the idea of people getting to use your application, it's either that it solves a very key problem for them, right? Or that across time they've been able to grow some sort of emotional entanglement to your application. And that's what we're trying to do with the quest protocol. So we go away from the part where users join your community and they don't even know where they want to start, right? They don't know what's going on. So right now, if I join the Starknet Discord, there's not a lot I know that I can do. I have to probably go look for the Starknet website, find existing applications, probably find the Telegram community and so on and so forth. So imagine everything was connected and maybe there's some sort of onboarding quest. And when I join in, I can probably ask me, okay, are you a developer or are you a user? And basically, dependent on the path I choose, I can probably see different things I could do. Maybe I can complete these things and get incentives too. I think this is an amazing way to actually get most of all these like temporary users to actually stick around and probably like convert to like permanent users and evangelists of your platform. So yeah, these are the things we're experimenting with, and like I said, they're all experimental. But one of the things we're looking to do with Colony is like in the coming months, coming weeks, right? Is to experiment very quickly, to try new things, and we're just going to keep going till we actually get that thing that sticks. Yeah. Sorry
Good.
for the
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah.
No worries. It was a great one, and so many things that you are cooking. So yeah, I can I can see the effort, the passion, the enthusiasm. It's always great to see this approach, this behavior. And well, I've got like a couple of questions. The first one would be, when are you integrating the video format as well, so that people can also start producing content, video
Oh yeah,
content?
so that's going to be live in a few weeks. Yeah, it's part of
Ah,
like
cool.
the things we're
Nice.
currently working on. It should be live in a few weeks. Yeah.
Very cool. And also, at which is the current product stage of Colonies? Like you're in a private beta, if I remember well.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we're currently in private beta, public beta. That's all prefer to call it because anybody can join in. It's just that you're going to need an invite code from like
okay,
an existing community. Yeah,
okay.
so it's public beta.
So basically, you can just get in touch with somebody and
Yeah,
ask for an invite, right?
yeah.
Okay,
So that way
very
we can track how people are joining, the communities that they're joining through,
I
and some
see.
other details. Yeah.
Very cool. And yeah, maybe also to finish our Stack Cafe episodes, I would be very curious to know how the reactions that you're seeing from African builders and community members. How do they use colonies? And also, I personally think that this kind of protocol has such a great potential. Also, even though I'm conscious that you're targeting the whole world, right? But at the same time, I also think that colonies has got such a big potential for the local African market as well, which is an immense market, and it's also a very young market, right? The youngest market in the world. So I was wondering what kind of reactions you are seeing in this market, and how do you want to play such a pivotal role in a social in a community management in Africa?
Oh yeah, okay. That's an amazing question. So, well, I think thus far we've pretty much gotten like good support from like the African community. I've been in touch with like a couple of persons, like some of like the new communities were able to get on board. Some of them are like African communities because we have like a lot of like tech communities in Africa. People who are like doing things, teaching people how to do things too. And so the idea or the goal essentially is to see how we can get as much persons on board as possible. But yeah, there've been of course challenges to like how to get this done because people do not like change and not saying, oh yeah, I go from one platform I'm ready into another, right? But yeah, these are the things we are actually like looking to solve. And I think whilst like I said, the target is not just the African market. At the same time, it's actually like a good place to start because first off, it's a place where we are acquainted with more persons, we know more persons, we're probably connected with more persons here, and so yeah, definitely we're in touch with like a lot of African communities to see how we can get on board like the community or a faction of their community to just come try out colonies. And in the long run, I would say right now we are just looking forward to seeing how things go. But just I'll say at this point we're just trying to play around in the market and learn with the market, see like okay, yeah, what makes sense, because the things one of the hard lessons we've come to realize, right, is the things that we think are useful usually not the things that are useful to like the market's people, right? So it's more or less like trying to learn with the market, understanding what they need at every point in time, and just like trying to get that done. Yeah, I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, you did very well, and yeah, so I pretty understand what you mean, and yeah, I was asking also because I personally think that the switching cost, especially when it comes to use cases like social media, social management
Yeah.
platforms, is very high in places like Europe and the USA, for example. Meanwhile, in places like South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia, the switching cost is a bit lower in the sense that people are also more used to changes, and they are also more used to change if there is enough incentive,
Incentives,
and
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
exactly to improve your life. And yeah, so that's why I asked. But obviously, I'm from Europe, and I see a lot of potential also for this market in colonies. So it is a platform for everybody. And yeah, so we had a very productive chat today. So once again, thanks a lot, Darlington. I learned a lot about colonies, and I'm personally looking forward to using it as much as possible in the coming weeks, and to grow as a colonies user together with all of you. And then yeah, looking forward also to having you back in a more mature stage, let's say,
sure.
in some months. And lastly, yeah, I wish you all the best. You're an amazing builder, a very precious resource for the whole Starknet community. So thanks a lot for all your grinding and building, and looking forward to have you back at the Starknet very soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nostra, for the opportunity to appreciate it, and looking forward to speaking in the coming months too. Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye.